Welcome everyone to another episode of Nintendo Kids. We're your hosts, Christian and Carl. I'm Christian.
And I'm Carl.
And it's time for a body slamming episode of Nintendo Kids.
Can you believe it?
Yeah. It's we're gonna be talking about wrestling games today.
Yes, wrestling games on this episode in Nintendo Kids. It is very time appropriate because
It's Wrestlemania season.
all right.
Yeah. We are both big wrestling fans.
Yes.
We've never really discussed it on the show, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean,
it's hasn't been a reason.
yeah, well, it's a show about video games, so wrestling is typically a different topic, but not in this case because there's a lot of video games that are wrestling related. We will touch on those today.
That's right. We've reached a nexus. Nexus?
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah. We reached a nexus of some of our favorite things.
So we like video games and we like wrestling.
That's right.
It's amazing we have girlfriends.
I know.
Or in your case, a fiance.
Right. I don't know why she puts up with me. But yeah, we both wanted to talk about wrestling games at some point, and I was like, hey, WrestleMania season's gonna be coming up, and we should talk about it around then. And with every episode we do, we're always like, boy, I hope we have enough to talk about. And we always end up, filling the time without any problem.
Yeah.
This time, I'm a little concerned that we're not going to have enough time.
Me too. I mean, there's a lot of games to talk about, but I keep thinking in my mind, like, well, I only have like one or two things to say about them. But if history repeats itself, those one or two things are like 10 or 20 minutes each. So
right.
I maybe might have too much to talk about. But in the event that we don't have enough to talk about, do we have any news or what are you playing that we want to do? I definitely want to talk about that one news article about Nintendo strategy shift recently that they released.
Yes. Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah, I don't have the article. I'm ill prepared.
That's
and
okay.
I only read it once, but the gist of it I got is they're really pushing for that new fit thing.
They're working on a quality of life strategy. It's
quality
like
of life.
The third kind of pillar. Which, if you look back in history, they've, they had the Game Boy and their console systems, and then they weren't doing so good with the GameCube, and then they're like, well, we have this Nintendo DS thing. We're just gonna see how it does, and it ended up being insanely popular.
And it just exploded in
killed
popularity.
The it killed the Game Boy. It brought them back, and then the Wii came out, and they did well there. But this is happening again. 3DS is doing really well. But the Wii U is not. And they're looking to do something to kind of rectify that. And one thing could be to put out another console. But they're doing this quality of life thing, which they haven't been too forthcoming about what it is. But it's kind of going to be its own thing, and we'll see how it goes, which might mean that they'll put every resource they can at it if it picks up momentum.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting because I feel like when the Wii came out, they were really ahead on this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, maybe I will exercise in front of the television instead of just mashing buttons. And you used to see those stories, remember, where like, man loses 100 pounds by playing Wii tennis or whatever. And, it was inspirational.
Well, there's that. I mean, that whole first week, there was articles on they dubbed it Wii elbow instead of tennis elbow.
That's right.
From everybody
Wii
swinging the Wii remote playing Wii Sports. They actually got like tendonitis in their elbow.
That's right. I never got that.
Me neither. I know I did have like sore muscles like a couple days after, especially for playing the baseball game because you just swing the Wii remote as hard as you can, thinking it'll make the ball go faster or further. I mean. Meanwhile, it was like, we really weren't expecting people to swing the Wii remote this hard, which is kind of odd because it's like, what were you expecting?
Yeah.
You were trying to make it as close to real life as possible, so I'm going to swing that thing like it's a baseball bat.
Yeah, when I came out, the Wii came out, my grandmother, big golfer, she still golfs during the summer. I think it's every day. So I was like, here, why don't you try the golf game? And she swung like you would swing a golf club. So I mean, she had some force behind it, and I guess they didn't expect that to happen. But when they did that, they probably could have really had something. And for whatever reason, I guess they didn't capitalize on it as much as they're going to now. But in that time, we now have Fitbits. Jawbone, the maker of the Bluetooth headsets, they have Up, which is their whole fitness thing. Samsung has a whole line of things that go with their phones. Even my Moto X the other day was like, "Hey, you've been walking a lot lately," and Google Now popped up with a little card that said, "Here's what you've been doing." They're getting into a game that is not uncharted territory. So I don't know if they're going to be a little late to this. But they do have the advantage where they are an entertainment company. So maybe they'll make it more fun than just, hey, I did my 10,000 steps.
I foresee a major obstacle as changing and this may be an ill-informed opinion, or what's the word I'm looking for? Just a stigma of Wii Fit.
Yeah.
I think that is already stuck in everybody's heads. And everybody's going to be thinking, oh, it's just another Wii Fit, when it might not be at all. Maybe almost kind of like most people thought the Wii U was like, oh, it's just another Wii.
Right.
Which it actually kind of is. Which is not really with HD graphics. But so just getting people to change their mindset, like just distance themselves from Wii Fit, they have to make that very apparent that it's not just standing on a board.
Right.
And it has to be serious about if it's like a fitness thing. Like I actually got one of those Wii Fit balance boards, and the whole Wii Fit thing is downstairs. And I mean, I wasn't going to the gym every day or anything. I didn't go to the gym at all at that time. But it really wasn't very difficult for me.
No.
Now, granted, I'm in okay shape. I'm in my target range, so I'm not really I don't go to the gym, I don't go running or anything like that. But when it asks you to just do only 4 push-ups, and
really,
and congratulates you on such a good job of doing 4 push-ups, it's like, oh, come on, man. I mean,
no.
now I know not everybody could do 4 push-ups.
True.
But you really should have given me some more options of because you put in your height and your weight, and it just guesses how you are based off of that.
Yeah, wouldn't it say stuff like
you're obese?
You're obese,
right.
And children would cry.
Right, because it didn't take into account percent body fat.
Right.
So you could probably have Mr. Universe, a bodybuilder, because muscle weighs more than fat.
Yeah.
Stand on a thing like, you're obese by a lot.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, but they actually made your me chunky. They made him whiter than normal. Put a little bit of, if I recall, a little bit of roundness on the person's face, because Daryl was considered obese in that game.
Really?
Yeah.
I was a pretty fit guy.
Yeah, he is. He's in better shape than I am. So, so yeah, they just need to. But I guess that was maybe just more like a proof of concept type of
it
thing,
may have been,
just like the way Wii Sports was. It's like, oh, all right, baseball game, 3 innings. What?
Right. I know one thing, and I don't think it was an ill-informed thought, because there's not a lot of information yet. But the one thing I do sometimes is I take my 3DS with me when I go for walks at my lunch at work, and you just drop it in your pocket and you go, and you get these coins that build up.
I got a few of those.
Yeah, and then there's certain games where it's like, hey, would you like to get a hint for something, or would you like
Link
this
Between
item?
Worlds?
Yeah. I didn't use too many Link Between Worlds because I didn't have that many. And then I'm like, oh, you get them by walking?
Yeah, how do you get these? That's not fair. I actually need a hint here, and I want to ask that ghost.
Yeah, it's like, I only have 3. Yeah, I have a couple hundred now, I think, because I just, I go walking regular. I don't bring it with me all the time. But so I don't know. I mean, maybe they're going to do something like that, tie it in with the whole Nintendo online service, and you went walking, or you did this or that, and now you've got something that you can use to get something in a game. I don't know. I'm not really sure what they're going to do, but I'm excited to learn.
Yes. The other, and this is pure speculation because we really don't know what this thing is, but I mean, early reports seem like it is more of a fitness thing. I'm guessing, but one of the biggest hurdles I think they're going to have to clear is actually making people want to work out.
Yeah.
People are lazy, myself included. Actually, I'm probably one of the more lazier people. You see all these infomercials for every single type of weight loss thing there is on the planet because everybody wants to be in shape, but nobody wants to do what it takes to get in shape.
Nope.
Well, I don't say nobody, but the vast majority of people don't want to get up out of the couch. They
think they do.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking about it at work with Tim, and first he had the P90X, which was like a 45-minute intense workout thing.
Yeah.
And then they had the Insanity workout, which was something like half an hour intense thing. Now they have a new one. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like only 15 minutes a day. And you don't have to work out for 15 minutes. It's like, what kind? I mean, now I understand you're flapping around like you're having a seizure for that entire 15 minutes, but only 15 minutes, like it really is catering to the fact that people they want to work out as little as possible. It's like, if I have to put in 15 minutes worth of effort. And I mean, I'm going off on a tangent here, but I guess one of the some of the things you see on infomercials was like that ab chair thing where you sat down and you twisted back and forth to work out your obliques. And it's like,
oh yeah,
look, you can work out while sitting down.
Yeah,
and then there's the famous one where,
and
then there's that famous one where you had put those little pads on like your abs and
those
it gives
like
you
electrodes.
Yeah, and it's like, how much worse could it be? It's like you are so lazy that you don't even want to get out of that. Instead of getting up and actually going to a gym, you'd rather send electrical current into your body while laying there just so you can get some exercise.
Like you're not even willing to do like just a slightest curl.
Yeah.
You know, you just want to lay still while your body gets zapped.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, that might make the muscles work out, but you're not doing anything for your cardio. But I'm just going, and to bring it back to my main point was people tend to be not too anxious to work out. And if they do, they'll buy, like everybody else, they'll buy Wii Fit, and then it'll sit in the corner like mine did.
Yeah.
For the rest of its existence. It'll get its use for its first week. And then everybody's like, wait a minute, working out does suck. Now I remember. So
I was even worse than you. I was like, this thing sounds fantastic. I can get a good workout and everything. I never even bought the thing.
So those are the two big hurdles I see for Nintendo. Getting everybody's mind away from Wii Fit, the balance board thing, and actually making people interested in working out. If they could figure that out, then geez, they're sitting on a gold mine then.
Yeah.
Getting people to work out is difficult. Getting them motivated is difficult.
Yeah, those are perfectly valid points. I think you're right. Those are challenges that they'll have to address, and hopefully they can. If nothing else, maybe for kids, to get kids to get moving more, and maybe something like the equivalent of an in-app purchase for a game. Like, I would like this special sword, and you have to only do it by getting like the workout points or whatever you would get. Maybe something like that.
That's so funny because like there's still ways to like fake that type of stuff.
I know.
Like once I figured out you get coins by like walking, I just took like my DS, like closed it up, and it shook it.
Did it work?
Like, yeah. Or you want to, or if you're old enough, just put in your car and go over a bumpy road or something like that. You get a bunch of them just for driving around. And
how many did I get on the way here?
Well, with all the potholes around here, you probably got like a couple hundred.
Apparently I hit like 66 potholes.
But I guess that's all I gotta say about that for the time being until we get some more information.
Yeah, and we'll definitely talk about it as we learn more.
Oh, maybe well, if we're going over time, we can always cut this out. But this is sort of in the vein of Nintendo. This is I guess a kind of a news article. News for me. It's not an article, but I was telling you about it. But the other day I got a new doorbell because my
you
broke.
were telling me. Yeah.
And it came from somewhere in Eastern Asia because there was all these Chinese, Japanese, some type of writing on it that was not American writing, that's for sure. It just had that kanji type look. Is that how you pronounce it? Kanji?
Yeah.
Kanji. And I have no Japanese studies whatsoever, despite the fact that my aunt is Japanese. She'd be ashamed of me. But so it came from there, and I plugged it in, and I just was cycling through. It's like it boasted it had like 38 different sounds, which is a lot.
Sure.
I mean, I didn't buy it just because it had 38 sounds. I bought them like you got the best reviews, and it was the least expensive for the best reviews. So, but I'm cycling through these songs, and there were 20 in, and I'm like, I don't recognize any of these. I mean, usually you get some simple ones like Frere Jacques or all these public domain, basic songs. Mary Had a Little Lamb, London Bridge, all these things, and I'm like, what are these songs? Like this, are these just written by the person who designed this? So, but going through, the more I listened to them, the more I started picturing myself playing Mega Man while hearing these songs in the background, because they sounded like they should be in a Mega Man game or some type of game from the 80s, or like in an arcade, or like Bubble Bobble, just something where I was just playing them. And actually I have the doorbell here. Ooh. So I'm actually gonna play a couple of them for you, and you can see what I mean. Now I have no idea if these are actual. These might actually be, as I said to you over email, they might be like public domain folk songs from China or Japan or Hong Kong or something, but I don't know those songs, so I have no way of confirming that unless somebody who's listening to this hears it and says, oh, I know that song, it's this. Let us know. So here's a small sample. Hopefully this won't be too loud. Or like Dragon Warrior or something.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like Final Fantasy or something.
That sounds kind of Russian.
Yeah, yeah, maybe could be playing Tetris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm just picturing like bloop, 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 bloop,
yeah.
bloop from Mega Man's arm cannibalism. Now, once you get like into the upper levels, there are some familiar songs like "Happy Birthday" and "Jingle Bells" and actually "London Bridge" is on here somewhere.
I'm picturing an 8-bit cityscape.
Yeah.
And like at Twilight, and there's like words at the bottom telling the intro to the game.
Yeah. Like the beginning of like Mega Man 4 or Mega Man 2.
Yeah.
This is totally a boss fight.
Oh, yeah.
That's not like this. I'm picturing like Mr. Do or like Dig Dog, like digging through, like pushing apples around and stuff. So I don't know. I thought it was funny. I'm actually going to like the actual doorbell unit itself has like below the button there's a piece of plastic where it says like doorbell and paper, and you actually pull that off and replace it. So I'm gonna put like Mario or something in there, and with the doorbell or something. Yeah, I was looking. I'm like, there's got to be some game that has a bell in it.
Yeah.
There actually is a Super Bell in Super Mario 3D Land U, the new one that came out, whatever it's called, the one with the cats.
Oh, Super Mario 3D World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, then I thought like, oh, well, what about that kangaroo game for the arcades? Remember the one where like the monkey just like throw like apple cores at you? It's a side platformer. You have to go rescue your Joey up at the top.
Yeah.
There's bells in that game, but it's kind of obscure, so I'm like, nobody's going to get that reference, so I'm just going to go with Mario.
Mario's always good. Yeah.
Super Mario. What's it? Super Mario 3D? Super Mario 3D World?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to... Their titles, like, they're crazy anymore. It's getting like Star Trek, where people refer to Star Trek like the one with the whales. So that one's gonna be like the one with the cats.
The cat game. Oh,
the one
sure.
with the cat. The one where Mario turns into a cat, or the Super Mario Galaxy. Oh, the one where he turns into a bee.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Forgot about that. Mario.
So now's a good time, I think, to move on to our main topic.
Wrestling.
We got 40 minutes to kill.
Yeah, you know what? When I got into wrestling, and I won't go into a long story about it, but it was actually roughly about a week after WrestleMania 9, so 21 years ago. Okay. And I was also like really into Nintendo at that point, so I'm like, well, hey, there's Nintendo games, there's wrestling Nintendo games, but a few of them had come out a few years prior. Couldn't really find them in stores, and plus I was like, a kid, so I didn't have the money to buy them all. So I mail ordered a bunch from Funko Land. They were all used games, and that's where most of the NES games I'll be talking about today came from.
I started watching wrestling like when I was pretty young. I probably guess maybe like 5 or 6, because I haven't done the math. I probably should, but I remember watching. Oh boy, I should know this. I was at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 3 is where he wrestled Andre the Giant.
Yep.
Now, it was shortly after that Andre beat Hogan with the duplicate ref controversy, where the $1 Million Man paid off the ref.
Oh, the Hebner brothers?
Yeah, the Hebner brothers. Was that before or after WrestleMania? That was after.
That was after. That actually led into WrestleMania 4.
4, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was, right about that time I started watching it. Or at least I was watching it prior to that, because I remember I was so mad when Hogan lost like that championship. I was like yelling at the TV like, "Yes, Shawn knows where I'm at. How come we didn't see it?" Because you think it's real back then.
Sure.
I remember King Kong Bundy when he kept doing the avalanche to Hogan and broke Hogan's ribs.
Yeah.
And I was really upset about that. So I was watching when I was a little kid, and then I fell out of it. I missed almost the entire Ultimate Warrior craze, the entire Macho King craze, and then picked it back up again right around WrestleMania 9 with you. So, and after that, it was pretty steady throughout the 90s, and kind of trailed off, and came back in the early 2000s for a few years, trailed off, and now I'm back into it for the last few years. And I guess, yeah, while it's not Nintendo related per se, but I remember, seeing there's a lot of arcade games. Like, I remember there was one, I wrote it down. Hold on. It's in my notes. And I don't want to jump into the arcades just too far just yet, but since it was early enough, it was WWF Superstars.
Yeah.
It was, the one where the ring took up, like, it was 2 screens long. Like, because the ring was freaking huge.
Yeah,
and I remember that one because it was one of the few games that had Hacksaw Jim Duggan in it.
Yeah.
But we'll start with the Nintendo games, I suppose, first, since that's where you were starting with.
Yeah, I kind of stuck with in my notes here. I kind of stuck with the Nintendo consoles, but I got a lot of knowledge on some other ones too. The first one, I don't even know if you played this one. Tag Team Wrestling.
No,
not
that it's ringing.
It's actually where remember Strong Bad? It was like internet sensation. There was a tag team in that game called the Strong Bads, and they were kind of based off it.
Oh, really? That's where he came from?
Yeah.
Huh.
It was an old game. I mean, it was an early NES game, but it had a surprising number of moves, and I remember the outside ring action because it was like, holy crap, you can go outside the ring. And when you do it and you like dump your opponent out of the ring, it actually switches to a different view. You don't just see the guy go outside the ropes. It switches view to like the ground. Kind of fun. I don't know. It wasn't one of my favorites, but it was one of them that I owned. It was one of the earlier ones that I had. Then after that, I kind of ventured into the real like WWF, WCW games like that. There were several WWF games that I played, but not that much of. The one, and I'm only really mentioning this one because I kind of have some particular memory of it, is WWF WrestleMania Steel Cage Challenge.
For Nintendo?
For the Nintendo, yeah. It didn't have a whole lot of moves, and it was strangely quiet. Like, I actually had to watch a YouTube video the other day to jog my memory because I'm like, I remember there was something weird about that game. Even for back then, it was really quiet. Like there wasn't any noise, and then you'd slam a guy, and then there'd be like a little bit of noise, but it'd be mostly silent when the two guys are just in the ring. It was weird. But it's memorable for me because the Mountie was in the game.
Oh, that was okay.
And it's like the only game I remember with the Mountie in it.
Yeah. That's all I can say about that, though, because I don't think I ever played that.
Did you ever play that one?
I remember pictures of it
Yeah.
in like Nintendo Power or Game Informer or something, but never played it, I don't think.
Yeah, you weren't missing much. It wasn't great. There was one other one that I did want to mention, and I don't know that you played this one either, but WCW, World Championship Wrestling, I had that one, and actually it was a really good game. I mean, it had its flaws, but I think of it memorably because it had a pretty good selection of wrestlers. It was the early 90s, so you have Ric Flair, you have Ricky Steamboat, you have the Road Warriors, you have Sting, Eddie Gilbert. There was a whole bunch. I think Michael Hayes was in it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it actually had in-game voice.
Huh.
Kind of a little crude, but it sounded like it might have been Paul E. Dangerously, which is Paul Heyman.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There were specific little things that'd be said, and I'm like, he's kind of got that Paul Heyman kind of voice to him. So I don't know if it was or not. But the one cool thing was you can choose your moveset before the match.
Oh.
So you pick like Ric Flair, and then it's like, okay, if you press up in something, what does it do? And left in something, what does it do? And you can kind of build a moveset that works for you. So I thought that was kind of cool.
That's pretty neat.
But, yeah, I don't remember if you played that one or not, but
Yeah.
as a WCW fan, I thought that was great because it was really the only WCW game that I played or even knew about until one that comes much further down on that list.
Did you have WWF WrestleMania Challenge on your list?
I don't have it on my list, but I do remember that game.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was the one and only WWF/WWE. Well, the WWF back then. Video game for Nintendo that I remember playing. That one was interesting because the ring was at a certain perspective where it was the shape of a diamond.
Yeah.
Because it was at that particular angle. The things that stick out for me in my mind for that game was Andre the Giant. In that game, we could be Andre the Giant. He had that one move where he squishes people into like the corner, which I thought was pretty neat. I remember there was an article in Nintendo Power during your tag team match on how to make your tag partner walk over to the other side of the ring and beat up their tag team partner outside the ring.
I remember that. Yeah.
Which is pretty funny. And I also remember that one as one of the few games I believe that had Erwin R. Shyster in the game.
Oh, he was in that one?
I'm pretty sure he was in that one.
Ah.
And I just remember his theme song was just supposed to be the sound of like money flipping, like. So, that's. But other than that, I mean, it was a pretty straightforward game, and I think Macho Man was in that one also, and
Yeah.
there was a couple, and some of the big names, Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, but it wasn't that bad of a game for Nintendo, I don't think. And like I said, it was the only one I really played that had real guys in it, for the Nintendo.
Yeah. Did you, surely you played pro wrestling?
Let me see which one that one is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got some notes on that.
Oh, great game. Actually, that was actually a pretty good game. And it was a Nintendo game, actually made by Nintendo, right? And I never owned this one, but I played it so many freaking times.
You didn't own this one? Somebody had it.
Yeah, Rich Arthur had it.
Okay.
And a few other people. Rich, if you're listening for whatever reason, hi.
Hi, Rich.
Yeah. But, yeah, a lot of people I knew had it. And there's memorable wrestlers. Starman, the Amazon, King Corn Karn,
Yep.
Fighter Hayabusa. That game was... I don't know. I loved it because I liked the way they were kind of taken off of certain people, but like the Amazon was not even based off a wrestler. It was a creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, he was a gill man.
It was great. But I like
Kim Corn Karn, if I remember, looked like a golem.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a clay golem for some reason.
Yeah, that just they had such good characters, and yeah.
It's funny. When I was researching the game because I couldn't remember the names of which games they were. I'm like, what was that one with Starman and the Amazon? And I'm like, I'm looking these up and like, which one was that? So while doing that, I don't know if you read or if you saw what the nicknames were. Like they have, I was on Wikipedia. They have the English name, the Japanese name, the nickname, and they list their specialty move. But some of the nicknames are freaking hilarious.
don't remember them, but I remember they had nicknames.
Yeah, Fighter Hayabusa, which his nickname was the Invincible Warrior. Starman was Super Space Traveler. Great Puma was the Perfect Warrior. The Amazon was half piranha, half man. Giant Panther was the ultimate human weapon.
Yeah.
Kincorn Karn was the living karate tool.
I don't even know where to begin with.
Yeah, what does that mean? and my favorite one, King Slender, was Cold-Blooded Warrior Junior. Junior, yes, Cold-Blooded Warrior Junior. Apparently, there's a Cold-Blooded Warrior Senior out there somewhere.
Oh man, maybe they were preparing to bring him back for the sequel, Pro Wrestling 2. You know what? That game had some cool attention to detail. Like when you slam a guy, he'd maybe shake his head, or like sell the move. You know, in terms of wrestling, he'd sell it, which was kind of neat because games for a long time, even after this, you know, you slam a guy and, you know, the only show that he's actually hurt is that it might take a little bit longer for you to mash the button before he stands up. Yeah, it was kind of neat to see them like take an effect.
Yeah. No. Of course, this game is notorious for its famous catchphrase.
A winner is you.
A winner is you.
I love that. You know, I always thought about that even when I was a kid. And I was like, I don't think that's right. But you're a kid, right? So you're like, certainly they wouldn't have sold this game with such horrible grammatical errors.
Yeah, they're professional people programming this game. They must know what they're doing.
They must know. And they must have just taken literal translations back then. And I don't know.
I don't even think it was really translated by Americans. I mean, they probably just had a Japanese to English dictionary and looked it up.
Just looked it up, and
it'd be the same way if we tried to translate something in English to Japanese instead. They'd probably like, ha ha ha,
yeah,
you said it this way, stupid American.
Yeah, the that for years, like everywhere online, I don't even think people know what game that came from.
Yeah,
they just know it's like, oh, that Nintendo game with the guy standing there and the winner is you. Oh, that's funny. It'll never die. As a matter of fact, I think it's the most recent WWE game. They have trophies now, or achievements if you're an Xbox guy. They have trophies, and you and I play PlayStation 1. There's a trophy called A Winner Is You. And really? I don't remember what you need to do to get it, but
that's funny.
It is in there. You know, another nice thing about that game, it wasn't just you against the other characters and then hooray, you won. You have to win, and then you have to defend the title.
Yeah.
Through like 10, I think it's 10 opponents. So that's kind of cool. Like it doesn't end when you win the belt. You keep going. But that was kind of neat. Gives it a little bit of, I don't know if replay value is the right word, but longevity in your gameplay session. Mm-hmm. So kind of a challenging game too. So,
yeah. I remember it being really tough.
Yeah. Gave you something to fight for.
Shall we move on to the next one? Which
I have a feeling we both have the same one on our list.
Would that be Tecmo World Wrestling?
Yes.
What a great game Tecmo World Wrestling is.
Yeah, I think there's two reasons why this game is. There's a lot of reasons.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's two big reasons. One, the game is genuinely great.
Yes.
Not good. It's great. It's
great
a
wrestling
great game for its time. I think it, obviously doesn't stand the test of time in terms of graphics and all the crazy moves and stuff that you could do in today's games, but it's easy to pick up and play. There's a lot of wrestlers. So that's one thing. The other reason I consider it so great is that we have a particular attachment to this game, like a personal attachment, which we'll get into. But Tecmo World Wrestling. It is a damn shame that there has never been a sequel to this.
I know. It's so great. I But yeah, like you said, just from a game standpoint, it's just a really solid game.
Yeah.
And it just did some things that were, I think, pretty unique for a wrestling game. Like it had an announcer in it. Granted, you had to read what he said,
Right.
but it was still funny to see an announcer there. And he would, even during like exciting moments, he like stand up and everything, which is pretty cool. And he had funny things to say.
Yeah.
You
A pile driver. It's doomsday for the skull.
all right,
Like, yeah.
doomsday for the skull. And I also thought it had cinematics, which were really cool.
The cinematics were great because you felt like the move actually had something special to it, not just like, oh man, he body slammed him.
Yeah, it's like your guy's special move, and you do it, but then it would be kind of repeated with better graphics, and it'd be more close up, and when you did it, the screen would like flash and it'd make like a really cool sound, like ching or something that you did it or whatever. And even doing something simple as like a German suplex when it was your finishing move, just that cinematic just made it look so freaking cool.
He like grabs him, and then you see like the camera kind of shifts a few times.
Yeah, he tilts over, and then it shifts again, and you see the guy's shoulders hit the canvas, and then flashes, and it's like, oh man, I totally killed him. It was such a great move.
Yeah, I love those. I think about that game all the time because there were some great moves that I'll mention, but there was one in particular, the giant swing.
Yes.
Which a couple of dudes did, but the funny thing about that was you'd see him like spin across the screen like a couple of times.
Right.
and then he'd throw him, and then it'd go back to the regular game, and you'd see the guy just kind of fly.
Yeah.
And I think about it all the time now because Cesaro, formerly Antonio Cesaro,
right?
He's just Cesaro now. He's a current wrestler in the WWE, and man, that guy's popularity has taken off because of the giant swing.
Yes.
I don't think people were familiar with it, but I saw him do it the first time, and I'm like, oh man, the giant swing. Yeah. And now like he spins dudes like 20 times. It's hysterical.
Now, I mean, it's even practically renamed to the Cesaro swing.
It is, yeah.
It's one of his specialty moves.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. And there's other moves too that I was like a fan of that I never saw. I now see it. AJ Lee does a variant of the octopus hold, and I never saw that before. Like I was watching wrestling at the time I was playing this game, and I had never seen it. And they're like, "Oh, it's the Royal Octopus Hold," and he's got the guy locked in, and I'm like, "Why don't they do that on television? It's awesome!" I tried to do it before, and it's actually really hard to maintain your balance. But it had really pretty good move sets. It had good moves. Graphics for its time
I thought were pretty spiffy,
pretty good. Fun roster.
Very fun roster.
Yeah, there was a unique group of guys there. And,
these ones I think were modeled off of more off of real guys, and even when I read the Wikipedia article, it said like, the likeness is very similar, and they even have like listed who the likenesses are very similar to.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of some off the top of my head, but do you have?
I have the roster right here. Akira Dragon,
who does look a little bit like Fighter Hayabusa.
Yeah. El Tiger, based off of Tiger Mask.
Yeah, Tiger Mask. Yeah.
Pat Gordon.
Pat Gordon.
Who
was he a take after? Like Luthez or something?
Very good. Rex Beat. Our persona resembles the style of the old tag team, the Road Warriors. Jackie Lee, which is I didn't know this. His name was a play off of Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Yeah.
And, appearance and moves are based off of Korean/Japanese wrestling legend Riki Choshu. Boris Chekhov. Resembles to Stan Hansen.
Really? Stan Hansen?
Profile pose closely resembles Hansen's Texas Longhorn hand gesture.
Oh, yeah.
Mark Rose. Kind of looser resemblance to Ric Flair during the 1980s. Sort of see it. Maybe the hair.
Not the color of the hair, but the hair, I guess I could see.
Julio Falcon.
Bears
Bears resemblance to Hulk Hogan, albeit with darker skin.
Yeah.
And one shoulder singlet. Granted, Hogan one's very orange.
Yeah, it was. Still is.
Randy Gomez. Harley Race.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Once I saw him, like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that is Harley.
Dr. Gildo. Big Van Vader.
Oh, man, I love Vader.
Yeah. And the boss, I guess a boss, which I don't remember seeing this guy. Blue King.
Yeah, I made it to Blue King. He was hard.
Looks like Junji Hirata. So,
yeah.
But yeah, really, really cool game. Really, really fun game.
One of the reasons I mentioned is because we have a personal kind of affection toward this game, because you can rename the wrestlers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I don't know, I've always been a big fan of kind of making something your own.
Yes.
I do it all the time. Every WWE game that comes out, I always make dudes, and we have a whole came out of an E-Fed. We have our New Revolution Wrestling League kind of thing, and it all came off of these where we make characters. And this is one of the first games to do that. You couldn't change the way the guys looked or anything, but you can change their names.
Right.
And I was like, well, I'm going to make names for all these guys, and I don't remember most of them, but for whatever reason, was it Mike Rose? Was that his name?
Mike Rose.
Rose. There was a little heart symbol on the keyboard in the game, so I made him like Red Love.
Yeah, with the heart as the space.
The heart as the space, yeah. And for Pat Gordon, I named him the Bear. And I had them all written down or whatever. And there was one night, it was you, me, and maybe our friend Ryan might have been there that night too. And I was like, oh, yeah, here's the names. And so you were putting the names in. And I think it was you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You were putting the names in, and you spelled the Bear wrong. I made it the Bean.
Yeah, I pushed. I thought I went to the R and pushed it and didn't, and then I pushed start to go. And since his last name was Gordon, the N was left over from Gordon, and it spelled out the Bean.
Well, the Bean ended up being friggin' legendary, because not only did he become our favorite character in the game for both of us, because it was just hysterical. And I remember we were laughing. Yeah. Like just dying laughing. And we got a little silly that night with the moves and everything. And, he had this move. It was called the Flesh and Mat Sandwich. Well, the announcer called it the Flesh and Mat Sandwich.
Yeah, it was basically like a power slam into a pin.
Leading into a pin. And I don't know, I think it might have been Ryan. Or maybe it was you.
It was
I don't know.
Was it you?
One, yeah. It was like the flesh and cheese sandwich.
Yeah, I read him like, oh my gosh, the flesh and cheese sandwich. And when you're 13 or whatever,
it
was at like 2 a.m. or sleepover, it's like you're freaking hilarious because you're just been up so late. And
you're tired, but you don't know it.
Yeah, those things. And I remember Ryan was playing also, and one of the moves like the guys had, if the guy was on the ground, was like he would do he would kick the guy like 3 times or something. Yeah. And Ryan renamed it the Corpse Tester.
Corpse Tester. Yeah.
It's like you're testing, like if something's dead, you just kick it a few times. The Corpse Tester. I thought that was so. Yeah, I remember Pat Gordon's one of his finishing move was the German suplex. And I think the giant swing was the other one. Actually, I have them right here, but I remember the German suplex was definitely one of them, because I remember I renamed it to the Bean Breaker.
Bean Breaker.
Bean Breaker. Because I'm like, I need something bean related. I'm like, what do you do with beans other than eat them? And I didn't want to make it like the obvious fart joke that it could be. I'm like, well, I know like when you cook beans, you have to break them, and like, when you put them in the pot when my mom makes them, like, yeah, he's breaking some guy like a bean, so it's the Bean Breaker.
Bean Breaker.
So that stuck with Pat Gordon is now the Bean Breaker.
Yeah, he is. He's forever the Bean. Maybe we'll talk about it more at the end, but in the New Revolution Wrestling NRWL, we had a lot of our own characters that we imagined on our own, and when we were growing up, we had when we were little kids, we had like the toys, like the action figures, He-Man and Ninja Turtles and stuff, and they became characters. Well, when we did the NRWL, some characters from other things spilled over. A comic book character, Max Destruction, came over. The game I'm going to talk about a little later, we both brought characters from that one, and the Bean came over.
Yeah,
actually Red Love did too, but the Bean came over, and like he was such a joke of a character. His entrance was like goofy. He came down a shopping cart and crashed into the ring.
Yeah, like cartwheels.
Yeah, he lost like every match, but his moves are all in there. Like the beam breaker was there. The
giant swing
the
was
giant
in there.
swing was in there. I think he just did a stomp or something, and it was the corpse tester.
They gave him like the rock stomp or something.
Yeah,
like that, or the woman stomp, and
so it was a good tribute to this game. And he never really won much, but then he did.
Yeah.
He won this match he should not have won, and he became the champion. And he was actually kind of good after that for a little while. And it was like, I believe in the bean.
I believe it became his motto. I believe in the bean.
Yeah, it was like it's a classic moment for me in our WL history.
He won that ladder match, right?
He won the ladder match, yeah,
against
Flawless Fred was the champion,
and somebody else was in it too, like Atlas or something. But
yeah.
I remember it was you, me, and my brother that night.
Yep.
The bean won it. We were all like high fiving each
yeah,
other,
because
and
it was just,
we couldn't believe it.
We couldn't believe it. It was amazing. So I mean, Tecmo World Wrestling, aside from just being a really fun, memorable game for us, has actually gone into other things and inspired other outlets of creativity and things, and it's just great game. So there's like that personal kind of feel of that game.
Yeah.
I have a hard time, finding much fault with it. But outside of that, there were some other cool stuff. You mentioned the play-by-play, but do you remember there were the training sessions?
Oh yeah, that's right. We did like push-ups with the sumo wrestler on your back or something.
Yeah, and there was weightlifting. There was like cardio kind of things, and I guess it was to kind of help you, survive longer in your matches and whatnot, and be stronger to do better, perform the moves and stuff. But that was like a neat addition. I know like Punch Out had stuff like that. You could be training before the fights and whatnot. But
wait, which Punch Out?
Punch Out for one of the Punch Outs.
I remember you're running.
You're running. I don't know if you actually did anything.
You don't actually get anything from that. It's just like more like a cutscene.
Yeah, well,
but there's other games where you mash buttons to improve.
Yeah.
Yourself.
Yeah, but to show something outside of the ring and to show you like, oh, he's actually, he's training for this fight. It's a big deal. So it was kind of cool to see, stuff like that in the game. It just feels a lot bigger than the other wrestling games on the NES at the time.
Yeah.
My opinion, best NES wrestling game, maybe it's definitely near the top of my list of favorite wrestling games, period. But there's other really good games to discuss.
Yeah.
But
this might be a two-parter because, we're approaching the 15-minute mark already.
Holy
and
crap.
we're not even in Super Nintendo yet.
Oh, man. Wow.
Which maybe we should move on to that now, Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about a Nintendo game, so.
Well, I'm thinking I'm going to start with WWF Royal Rumble.
I'm actually, before we hit to that, how about we go with
Super WrestleMania?
Super WrestleMania. We'll go in a chronological order.
Sure.
That one I thought was it was the first, I guess, WWF wrestling game for the Super Nintendo, I believe.
Yeah.
Had some digital graphics, like I know their pictures at least were digital. It was fun. Like everybody essentially had the same move set for the most part. I think everybody had the same moveset, which there wasn't a lot, but it was still actually kind of fun. There were some things that were kind of unrealistic, like you were able to make Earthquake go up on the top rope and jump off, and he didn't do that. But it was pretty. Sid Justice was in it, which I didn't even know who he was when I first played him, because I was sort of not quite into wrestling as much as I was. But I remember Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, Undertaker. I know these guys. Mr. Perfect, yeah. Who the hell's Sid Justice?
Right, yeah.
I think I have it. Yeah, I still have it. The Nintendo Power with this game.
I remember that one.
And Hulk Hogan was on the cover, giving the atomic leg drop to Earthquake, I believe. And the artist photoshopped. Well, I don't think Photoshop existed back then, but it's essentially a verb now. So they photoshopped in a Super Nintendo controller into Hulk Hogan's fist, so it looked like he was crushing it as he was giving the leg drop. And
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And it was actually kind of funny. Like, the article was pretty neat because they went through each wrestler, and then I don't know if they actually did interview them or not, or if they just made up stuff for them to say. But they had when we asked Macho Man Randy Savage what his favorite move in WWE Super WrestleMania is, he replied with the big elbow off the top rope. Oh yeah, it even had the oh yeah in there.
Yeah.
There. So it was just funny to see like what the wrestlers say about the game. It's like, oh, just like being in the squared circle.
Yeah.
Jake the Snake Roberts was there.
Oh yeah.
So
that's right.
He's there like, yeah, pick me because I'm the best. One of those things, and almost like some self promotion there. But
right.
Kind of funny. So, first time I ever heard the phrase "beat the tar out of somebody," and it was Earthquake making that quote.
Oh,
that's a cool way to put things.
Yeah.
So, but now we can move on to Royal Rumble.
Yeah, Royal Rumble. That was the first SNES wrestling game I had.
Big step up. I mean, it was the same game. It was like version 2 of Super WrestleMania.
It was, yeah. What I liked about it was the roster, because I got that game pretty much when it came out. I think it was right around the time it came out.
Yeah.
So it was still fresh, and
it was very current.
For the most part, with the exception of Ric Flair, I think everybody was everybody was around.
Yeah.
So I knew Ric Flair from WCW, and I was like, oh, it's kind of weird he's in this. Like,
yeah, I didn't even know who he was actually. I'm
really?
Like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Flair.
But yeah, it was a cool game. The controls were easy, so it was fun at parties.
Yep.
You just grapple, and you just kind of have to outpower the other guy with that. There was that like
tug of war.
It was like a tug of war type of bar. Yeah. A lot of replay value, because I played that game constantly, either just going up the ranks to beat the game, or the Royal Rumble itself, which is my favorite pay-per-view of the year.
Yeah.
And
it was neat because like the Royal Rumble in that game, which was like its main selling point. You have 6 other wrestlers in the ring at once, which at the time was like, wow, 6 people.
6 people.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, now granted you couldn't play a 6-player, but were you able to do 4-player multi-tap on that?
I was just thinking it might have been possible.
I think it might have been.
I didn't have one.
I did, but I think I got it after the fact. But it was just the fact that there was somebody besides you and player 2 and maybe 2 other people that might have been tag team partners. Right. There was like 2 other sets of computers fighting each other. And I still think to this day it has one of the better mechanics for getting eliminated from the Rumble. Like it felt like the most fair.
Yeah.
Like, you're in it till like your energy got really low, and then you were able to get tossed out, or you were thrown off the ropes and your momentum got you tossed out. Like, play some of these games like today, like WWE 12 or 13, and it seemed like it's just so easy to get tossed out, and it really wasn't that fair. You're barely in it for. So I don't know. It just seemed a lot more fun. Like if you got tossed out, it's like, well, I deserved it.
Yeah, it's like I shouldn't have run.
I shouldn't have run, or I got the crap kicked out of me. It's not fair. I was in second, but them's the breaks. So that was a fun one. I remember I also it had all the wrestlers. Well, it had MIDI versions of their musics in it.
Yeah.
And I remember I had that little portable tape recorder.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I recorded like all their musics on like tape, and I would like listen to those while I was doing like my homework and everything.
Nice.
So, and just to have them for, I don't know how long we have this game ever, so I better record these musics.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how else I was ever going to get those musics. You don't know.
Yeah, that was a good game, and they followed it up the next year.
Yeah, with
WWF Raw, which I didn't have, but you did.
I did. I think it was technically called Raw is War. I think, wasn't it?
No, I think
it was just Raw.
I think it was just Raw. Yeah,
it was neat because it actually had, well, as close as it could, the actual Monday Night Raw intro.
It did. Yeah, had the sliding in.
Yeah, the red and the blue. Yeah, didn't have Razor Ramon. Anything that was like full motion video, they had to sub in somehow.
Right.
Like I remember they had a blurry Razor Ramon like on the actual TV where he'd stand up after just giving the Razor's Edge and do like that arm cross no more thing. Well, and on the video game, since they can't do that, they just had Razor Ramon like a still of him like move up and then like slide out of the way, which was kind of funny. But I don't know, that one was maybe I just liked the era better, but I thought the roster was better on Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I did too, actually.
There was some I can never get behind Doink. Like I know I understand what they did with them, but I don't think he just deserved to be a character in a game. I thought there were more deserving people. Now, granted, who knows what licensing and likeness rights what it cost for other people to have been in the game, but I don't think Doink should have been in it, regardless of how semi-popular he was at the time.
Yeah. I think Diesel was in it, right?
Diesel was in it,
Diesel
yes.
was in it.
Luna Vachon was in it.
I had that written down as a note. Yeah, Luna was... She was a female wrestler, valet, depending on time in her career. And, yeah, she was in the game, which was a little odd. There was no other female.
No. And she never really wrestled dudes in real life. She wasn't like China, where China actually wrestled guys.
Right, yeah.
And on top of that, she was also Bam Bam Bigelow's main squeeze.
That's right.
And he was in that game.
He was in that game.
So you can make them fight each other, which didn't make much sense at the time. The other thing about that game, which I think was kind of gimmicky, was the special move, the mega moves. Remember those?
Yeah, I do.
Where, everybody had their own unique mega move that could deal out like a ton of damage. Almost unfairly like amount of damage. And some of them were like clearly like it was broken because some of them were way too powerful and way too easy to do, and some of them were damn near impossible to pull off or hit anybody with.
The blue shell of professional wrestling games?
Yes, yeah, actually. For per example, in a Royal Rumble, if there was like a bunch of people in the ring, and if Owen Hart came into the ring, you had to get him out ASAP because he would start doing that tornado move, that tornado clothesline move, and he would just fly over the ring and he would just knock people out left and right. And that's not fair.
No.
And then the other one was Yokozuna. He'd do that weird cannonball thing. And what can you do?
Yeah.
If you're in the ring, you get hit by it and you lose like a quarter of your life. And not fair. So I wish there was. I don't remember if there's a way to turn those off or not. But
I don't think there was. Yeah. Yeah. The one thing that always threw me off was they replaced the body slam with the ragdoll, at least for some of the characters.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have cared, I guess, but it's the body slam.
Yeah.
it's the thing.
Basic.
It's a basic
Wrestling 101.
move. Yeah, and I remember the first, I think when you got it, and I was playing it, I'm like, who's the body slam? And I'm like, what was that? So it was a good game. I thought it was a nice sequel to the Royal Rumble game, but I preferred Royal Rumble between the two.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Although there was one funny thing in the Raw game where now I remember you were able to do some Royal Rumble. You could knock the ref over, like if you ran into him, you knock him out for a little while. But in Raw, if you did to him a bunch of times,
he'd leave.
Yeah. He'd like throw his arms up in the air and you just like walk out of the ring. And after that, it just became a no holds bar brawl, and you wrestle till somebody ran out of life or energy, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah, because Royal Rumble, you could just smash him all day long. It didn't matter, right?
Right.
But yeah, that's right. Raw, he gets up and leaves.
Yeah, he throws his arms up in the air and walks out of the ring, which is great.
Yeah, which would never happen. The guys would get disqualified or something. Yeah. So it's kind of cool. They added that.
Was it Royal Rumble? Yes, it was Royal Rumble. Didn't, and I don't know if you were going to mention this, but I didn't witness this, but I thought you said one time you were playing with somebody and it glitched out after somebody hit Ric Flair with a steel folding chair.
Yeah, it wasn't my copy of the game. It was I rented it first from Blockbuster to try it out and see if I liked it. Blockbuster Video, for those of you who remember it.
Yeah.
And that game, for whatever reason, there was something wrong with it. And anytime you hit Ric Flair with the steel chair, because there was a steel chair always outside the ring, he would just glitch. Like he'd turn it. It's like his body exploded and he just turned into like static. And the game really didn't work right after that. Like he wouldn't move right and he couldn't really finish the match. And it didn't work so well. But there was a little jingle.
Yeah,
that we
ripped off of Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, we kind of so we could remember like not to hit Ric Flair with a chair. Please don't hit Ric Flair with a chair. In my copy of the game, I never actually ran into an issue with it, but
in my copy of the game, I was scared to try, so I never hit him with the chair.
Yeah. Oh, you're Ric Flair? Oh, I can't use the chair.
Crap. In Raw, they also added like a bucket you could hit him with.
Yes, that's right.
And if I recall, in one of the games, I'm pretty sure it was Raw, there was a ring, there was a bell attached to the ring, and if you Irish whip them into it, it would make the bell sound.
I think that might have been Raw.
Yeah, they had a couple extra things in Raw that, it was essentially version 3 of Super WrestleMania. So
yeah, it was a good series. I'm glad you mentioned Super WrestleMania because I didn't have that one, and I kind of blew by it when I was doing my research for this. I was like, I remember it, but I don't know if he's going to want to talk about it, and I don't know.
Yeah, it was their first attempt, so it was the groundwork. It's the engine that all the rest of them were built off of.
Right.
So
yeah, it was a good game.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Tell you what, we're running a little long on this episode. Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, we're just about the hour mark.
I think we should make this one a 2-parter because the next game that I want to talk about is going to eat up some time. This is my favorite wrestling game in the history of time.
I know which one you're talking about.
And I think you have fond memories of it too. So,
absolutely.
Why don't we stop there? This one's going to be officially a 2-parter. That's right.
All right. Sounds good.
We finally have our overflow that's so long we have to go into another one. So yeah, we'll be back with part 2. And we got some more games coming up. There's another Super Nintendo game, at least one. And I got some N64 games to talk about.
As do I.
Cool. All right. Well, until next time, happy gaming and start body slamming some dudes.
Happy gaming.
Hey, ready. Fight.